Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Tonight's going to be a review slash preview, as you can tell by the title of the video, and that's because I'm going to review the NFL playoff games from this weekend, and then I'm going to quickly preview tomorrow night's national championship game, and then preview the AFC and NFC championship games that'll be coming up next Sunday. But if you didn't watch any of the NFL playoffs from this weekend, two yesterday and two today, hey there, Marcus. Glad you're tuned in here on this Sunday night. I know a lot of people are off work tomorrow because of the holiday. So for all of you that are, I hope you enjoy your long, extended 3-day weekend. But yesterday, in game one of the doubleheader, the Kansas City Chiefs defeated the Houston Texans 23-14. And then in game two last night, the late game, probably the upset game because I think everybody thought Detroit was going to win the game. The Commanders defeated the Lions 45-31. And I know that a real good friend of mine is a fan of the San Francisco 49ers. And I saw him back in about November, and I told him back in November that I thought the big game, because you're not supposed to say the S and B words, that I thought the big game was going to be the Bills and the Eagles. And I still feel that way. And the reason why I told him that is because, the Detroit Lions were a terrible franchise for basically 50 years. And then all of a sudden last year, they got good. And they were close to knocking on the door of the big game, but then lost. And now this year, before the season started, it was Detroit. And it's just hard for me to believe that a team can be as bad as they were for as long as they were and then have one good year, and then all of a sudden you're big game bound. So I thought, well, if the best two teams in NFC is the Lions and the Eagles, and I don't think the Lions are quite ready, then that leaves the Eagles. And the AFC, I picked the Bills only because I know the Chiefs are really good, and they're not going to fall off no time soon because, to my knowledge, Andy Reid ain't retiring anytime soon. And as young as Patrick Mahomes is, he's not leaving anytime soon, barring some kind of serious injury. But winning 3 straight big games is not an easy task, and they're not going to win it every single year. And the Bills have been so close to beating them. And then back in November, the Bills and Chiefs played, and the Bills finally beat them. I said, well, the Bills have proven now that they can beat the Chiefs. So I said, Bills, Eagles. I still feel that way. Hey there, JBPM. Glad you have subscribed, and I really appreciate that. Tell your friends, tell your family. And Marcus, I was surprised the Commanders won the game, too. I thought they had a shot, but Jaden Daniels has just gotten better and better and better as the year has gone on. And, man, as good as they are, if they can get a real good running back, they're going to be really, really hard to beat. I mean, Austin Eckler is good, but he's really more of a receiving back than he is a running back. And Brian Robinson is really a third down back. Hey there, Henrietta. Glad you have subscribed. I really appreciate that. But they really don't have a running back that's going to give them, 20 carries a game like a Derrick Henry or, like a Saquon Barkley, something like that. If they could get that, man, their offense is going to be absolutely almost unstoppable. Hey there, Jameson. Glad you're here. Hey there, Steve. Glad you're here. So in the late game last night, the Commanders beat the Lions 45-31. Today, In game one of the doubleheader, the Eagles beat the Rams 28-22, and it was not your typical 4 touchdown 28. It was 3 touchdowns and 3 field goals. And I don't know if they announced during the game how much snow they had, but it looked like it had to be 4 to 5 inches. And the Eagles kicker, Jake Elliott, made 3 field goals, but he missed 2 extra points. And creative, the Bucks are a hard team to judge because, they're winning that division, but that division is flat out awful, but somebody has to win it. But this is the second straight year they've, come out of the gate and just played pitiful up, until about Halloween time. And then from Halloween time on, they are one of the best teams in the NFC. And then come playoff time, they look bad again. But, they need something on offense besides Mike Evans. They can't throw the ball to Mike Evans 45 times a game. But if Mike Evans doesn't have 100 receiving yards every game, the Bucks have no shot. So they need something besides Mike Evans. But, they're still better than people expect because almost every year people pick somebody besides that team to win that division. And everybody says that Todd Bowles is going to get fired, and then come into the season, the Bucks win the division, and Todd Bowles keeps his job. But, Mike Evans is getting up in age some, and he's not old age-wise, but football-wise, he's getting up there. But he's also wearing his body out, having to be the only consistent player they've got on offense. Bucky Irvin's not a bad running back, but just like I talked about a while ago with the Commanders, Bucky Irvin's not going to be an every down back. They really, truly haven't had a every down back in a long time because we know that Leonard Fournette sure wasn't every down back. But the Commanders need a number one running back, and so do the Bucks. And I feel like that is something you're going to see more and more and more of because there for a while it looked like the NFL was pretty much telling running backs, hey, you're no longer needed. We don't need y'all anymore. But then, the Ravens brought in Derrick Henry, and their offense looked better immediately. And the Eagles brought in Saquon Barkley, and their offense looked better immediately. So I think good running backs like those two are proving that it doesn't matter how old you are. If you're a running back, then you're going to be an effective running back. And the Eagles are riding Saquon Barkley like crazy. And I don't blame them because Jalen Hurts passing the ball is not the same quarterback in the playoffs as he is in the regular season. And it's not even close. Today, I don't think he had quite 200 yards, but he only had 39 passing yards in the first half last week. And you're not going to win playoff games with a quarterback throwing the ball like that unless you've got Saquon Barkley doing what he's doing, running the ball. But that Eagles-Rams game today, if you like to watch football in the snow, that was the game for you. And Saquon Barkley so far in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs looks absolutely incredible. And I still have no idea why the Giants let him go. I know that as bad as the Giants are, he wasn't going to make them a playoff team by being there. But as bad as they are, he could have got them 2 or 3 extra wins. And if you don't want him, re-sign him to a contract and then trade him. But they basically let him go for nothing, which is pretty much telling Barkley that, you suck and we don't need you. And he goes to the Eagles, and look what he's doing. If he stays healthy, I think they beat the Commanders easily next week. Hey there, Austin. Glad to have you here. And Marcus, I'm not saying y'all are wrong. The Chiefs might win it again, but their offense to me just doesn't look as good this year. And like I said, no matter what sport you look at and what team it is, nobody wins it every single year. This Chiefs' destiny has to come to a stop at some point. And even if they don't win it this year, it doesn't mean they won't come back next year and win it next year. But, they're not going to win 4, 5, 6 straight big games. It's just not going to happen. They're going to have to lose at some point. And the Bills beat them back in November, and I think the Bills beat them again next week. In the late game that just finished up not even an hour ago, the Bills defeated the Ravens 27-25. It's going fantastic, Austin. Thank you for being here. And that was another good game. The Ravens dominated the ball on offense as far as, they had way more first downs, way more yardage than the Bills, but the Bills won on the scoreboard. So the Ravens moved the ball with ease, but just didn't score enough points. And I don't think the Bills had 300 yards of offense, but they scored 27. So I think we're going to see the Bills versus the Eagles in the big game, which is coming up. It'll be 3 weeks from today because next Sunday will be the AFC, NFC championship games, and then the two winners will be off the first Sunday in February, and then they'll come back on the second Sunday in February and play for the big game. So if you've been paying attention, you know that I'm picking the Bills to beat the Chiefs, and I'm picking the Eagles to beat the Commanders. The Eagles and Commanders played twice in the regular season, and both games were really good. I don't expect anything to be any different. I think it'll be another good game, but I just think the Eagles have the experience factor. The Eagles have the head coaching factor, and I think the Eagles have the better talent overall, top to bottom. Now, I think the Commanders might have more heart because, they look like they're out there to win the whole doggone thing. But I just think the Eagles are just too good. All the great talent on offense, not to mention you had the best defense in football. When you've got a top 10 offense and a top 5 defense, it's hard to go against you. But, if you're an outsider just watching, the Eagles are fun to watch because they've got Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and be honest with you, Kenny Gainwell's not a bad second-string running back. And then they've got Devontae Smith. They've got Brown. They've got all these great receivers, the great running backs, the great quarterback, not to mention Dallas Goedert as well. And their second-string tight end, Carcaterra, is also very good. So the Eagles could have easily put up 40 points a game if they would quit worrying about ball control and just go out there and score. But when you've got somebody as good as Barkley, it's hard not to give Barkley the ball 20 times a game. You'd be a fool not to, especially the way he's running the ball right now. And I don't know what the fastest time ever is in the snow, but Barkley had a touchdown run today of, I want to say, 65 yards or close to it. And for it to be snowing, you couldn't tell watching him. He's definitely on fire right now. So I'll go with the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles in the big game coming up in 3 weeks. And Austin, I watched a little bit of it. I will finish watching it this week. I was watching the NFL playoffs. And then for tomorrow night, we were talking about this morning at church, me and some friends of mine, that, I don't like either team that's playing tomorrow night. So I don't really care who wins. I don't like either team, but I don't despise either team. So it's not going to hurt me or help me no matter who wins. I don't really care. I'm not pulling for either team because I don't care who wins. But I think Ohio State's going to win. But I just want it to be a good game. I don't want it to be, the national championship game and it be Ohio State 45, Notre Dame 12 or something like that. I want to see a good game, and I think we will because Notre Dame has a really good defense, and Marcus Freeman is a heck of a coach. So I think Notre Dame's defense will keep them in the game, but I just don't see how Notre Dame scores more than 17 unless they get a touchdown on defense or a special teams touchdown, something like that. But as far as just their offense, I don't see them scoring more than 17, and I think Ohio State at least scores 24 to 27. So if it does end up being like 27 to 17 or 24-17, I'm fine with that because that means it's a good game. I just don't want whoever wins the game to win by 30 points. But now, for all the people that wanted the playoffs to expand, I guess you can kind of say, you got what you wanted because the first couple of rounds were absolute complete blowouts, but they were blowouts in a 14 playoff. So, of course, in a 12-team playoff, you're going to see more blowouts, which we did. But if you look at Ohio State's seeding and Notre Dame's seeding, neither one of these teams would have made the playoffs if it was a 14 playoff. And now they're both playing for the national championship. So, yeah, all we've done by expanding is had more blowouts, which is not fun, entertaining football, but it's also led to two teams that wouldn't even made the playoffs playing for the national championship coming up here in less than 24 hours. So the Chiefs win, the Commanders win, the Eagles win, and the Bills win. And then next week, I'm going with the Bills over the Chiefs and the Eagles over the Commanders. And the big game is going to be the Buffalo Bills versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I kind of wanted it to be the Bills versus Lions only because you have two teams that have never won a big game, playing for it. So then all of a sudden, somebody has to get their first one. Now, the Bills still can if they get there, but the Eagles have won a few of them. So it wouldn't be the first one for the Eagles. So I wanted it to be the Bills and the Lions, but I've thought since November it was going to be the Bills and the Eagles, and I still feel that way. I kind of want the Eagles to lose, even though I picked them to go just because Nick Sirianni is probably the biggest buffoon in all of the NFL as far as head coaches, and he just says some off-the-wall, stupid, crazy stuff. But as long as they're winning, it's just like anything else. As long as they're winning, nobody's going to talk about it. But as soon as they lose, then all of a sudden, he's a buffoon all over again. So I'd like the Eagles to lose just to hear what Nick Sirianni is going to say because he's a hot-headed buffoon. But I just think they're the better team, and I think they beat the Commanders. And then, of course, if I'm right, and it's the Bills versus the Eagles, we'll talk more about that game before it gets here because it's 3 weeks from today, and it'll be 2 weeks from next Sunday when both games finish next Sunday night. So a couple of big weeks coming up for me because we have the AFC, NFC championship games next Sunday. And then the Sunday after that, I've got a wrestling show to go referee at. And then we have the Daytona pre-season race before Daytona. They call it the Clash. And this year it's going to be at Bowman Gray Stadium. And then the following Sunday will be the big game. And then the next Sunday will be Daytona. So we have the conference championship games. We have the NASCAR preseason race. We have the big game. And then we have the NASCAR first race, Daytona 500. And I think everybody knows by now that I'm a huge NASCAR fan. But any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Appreciate all of you that chimed in tonight live on the live chat. Really appreciate it. And to those of you who said you subscribed, I really appreciate that as well. It's free and it helps the channel out tremendously, so I greatly appreciate it. Tell your friends, tell your family about the channel. If you did not give the video a thumbs up, please do so. And as soon as I'm done, share the video on all social media platforms. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Did you know that diarrhea is hereditary? It runs in your genes. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.